What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm giving you a quick and simple breakdown on how to hit tier 6 in team trials without overcomplicating things with a million spreadsheets and calculations. There are a lot of numbers behind the scenes when it comes to team trials, but here are the things that actually matter for beginners. To reach tier 6, your main goal is going to be quite simple. You want to place first on every track type, and you also want your second and third runners consistently placing in the top 3. That is the real key, and it's really going to stack the points on. Your team trial score isn't just about raw stats either. Your mood matters, so if you're barely missing the score threshold, use your mood items before races. That little boost can make a huge difference on where you place in your race. You also want to make sure that you're racing as often as you can. Sometimes you don't need a perfect build, you just need a really good matchup, so don't be afraid to retry races and finish for better opponents. And most importantly, play around with your builds. Testing out is how you're going to learn which Umas are going to perform the best in these races for you. Now let's talk about building your team. Focus on having a strong overall team, not just high ranks like this S rank Sakura Bakashin here. As I will show you in just a moment, having a high career rank does not always mean that is going to be the Uma that best performs in their track type. As many people know already, stamina is the key to PvP. Not being able to keep up with your opponents is what's really dragging a lot of people down. So in this case, I have an S rank Sakura Bakashin, but she only has a E+ in stamina. This is going to be really detrimental to my race if I get hit with any debuffs, or if there are any other higher ranked Umas on the team with better stamina and better power. So in this case, it might be best to go with a Sakura Bakashin that has more of a D rank or maybe even a C rank in order to keep that stamina up and power through with my maxed out speed until the end. Another thing to keep in mind is the longer the tracks get, the more important that stamina is going to be. In this case, this Sakura Bakashin right here is probably going to be the one I use. It's going to be quite a bit of overkill on the stamina. Realistically, you only need around 500 stamina to perform well and actually reach tier 6 in team trials, but this is just an example of what I mean. If you have good Umas with good stats and you're choosing between 2 or 3 different Umas, choose the one with the better stamina option, as that is going to help you have more consistent races. You should also have at least one ace on every single track type. In this case, my Sakura Bakashin is going to be my sprint ace. If I have a dirt choice, I'm going to pick a dirt racer such as Agnes Digital or El Condor Pasa, Haru Urura, or Smart Falcon. Smart Falcon being one of the easiest one to train, although you do have to scout her, so she is less readily available for players to use. That being said, if I am using a Smart Falcon, I'm going to use one with high speed, decent stamina, as the dirt races are going to be a mile in length, so I want to have mile rated stamina, which is going to be a 600 and above, and I also want high power. Power is essential for dirt racing. If you can get that up to an A+ or higher, you're going to be sitting nice and pretty and not really struggling all that much compared to some of the other dirt racers. It is often one of the most neglected race types, so if you can really pull off a good ace for dirt, you're going to come home with a lot more wins. When it comes to long distance racers, this is going to be the most difficult one to get consistent Umas in, due to the fact that it requires a lot of stamina, and if you don't have fantastic builds or support card, legacy characters, etc., getting those stamina marks to where you want them is going to be rather difficult. I believe this Manhattan Cafe is actually one of my highest stamina rated Umas. I don't think I actually have one with maxed out stamina, and we're working on it. But what's most important is that you're choosing the racing strategies in career that work best for you. If you have issues getting consistent sprinters, miles, and dirt racers, I would highly recommend taking a break on the Unity Cup and doing some URA finals with those types of runners, mainly because the URA finals, in my experience, gives more consistently high runners than the Unity Cup, while the Unity Cup gives higher stamina runs than the URA finals, especially if you have a Rico support card. Using characters like Manhattan Cafe will also give you massive bonuses to your stamina. She has a 30% increase in stamina, which is huge. So, you can focus a little bit more on your speed and power growth, while getting that stamina up to where you need to by the end of the career. Another thing to keep in mind is to use your sparks wisely. The huge difference from getting an S rank in the aptitude that you're racing in is going to give you a massive edge over some of the other competitors who do not have this. For instance, if I'm doing dirt racing, I would like an S in dirt or mile. If you can get them in both, that's even better. It's a lot harder to do, especially depending on your legacy characters. But if you can get legacy characters that give pink sparks in mile and get that up to an S or in dirt for a dirt racer, then that will give you quite a bit of a lead. Also, that goes for every other aptitude. For instance, sprinters, if you can get their race type as a pace S or late S, front S, end S, or their track type / distance up to S as well, that is going to be great. I tried to pick all of my Umas based off of them having at least one S aptitude, just to kind of even the playing field against some of the better team builds out there. You also want to make sure that you're switching up your run style. Having every single runner on your team doing the exact same, whether it's front running, pace chasing, and closing, etc., is not going to be very beneficial to you, as distances can come with lots of blockages during the race, and having them at different points of the pack are going to help you overcome that obstacle. I like to have at least 2 different ones. It's a little difficult to train your team up so you have a really good racer for every single aptitude. So as you can see here, I have some double ups, my long distances being Gold Ship and my Narita Taishin as end closers, but then I have Manhattan Cafe as a late surger. Fill those slots out the best you can, and always make this top line here your ace runner for whatever track type you're doing. It can also be extremely beneficial to change up which opponents you're choosing. If you find yourself lacking or not getting the wins that you would normally be getting, make sure to choose the less competitive opponent for you, and you can see where exactly your Umas are placing in each race. I can see here my Gold Ship didn't perform very well during this long distance run. However, that doesn't mean she's always going to perform so bad. It could have been a bad race or a really bad matchup. So getting a lot of these races out at a lower difficulty to see where your Umas are consistently placing will help you decide how to move them around and where to place them stat-wise when doing your next career run-throughs. Choosing what Uma to use can be a very difficult process, and some of you guys have some crazy legacy characters that allow you to make runners like Harura into a long distance pace chaser. I don't know how you do it, but you find a way, and those builds are some of the coolest to see. But for some baseline recommendations, for sprints, I would always recommend using Kuren-chan, Sakura Bakashin, King Halo, and or Taiki Shuttle. They all perform really, really well in sprints and have minimal requirements for choosing their sparks to get the aptitudes that you're looking for. For dirt runners, I would recommend using runners like Smart Falcon, El Condor Pasa, and Haru Urura. For miles, I would recommend Vodka and Taiki Shuttle. For medium distance racers, you could use runners like Tokai Teo, Agnes Tachyon, and Ogre Cap. And for long distance, it's really hard to beat Manhattan Cafe with that 30% increase to stats, but Gold Ship and Rice Shower are also very good options. Now, these are not required for you to do well in team trials. I've seen some builds out there that you wouldn't believe and that I'm still having a hard time grasping reality of, but that's just how it goes. And that's really kind of a baseline for Umas that are relatively easy to train to get you into a more competitive field when it comes to team trials. This was my quick breakdown to help you reach rank 6 in team trials. This isn't about min-maxing a perfect account, it's just solid advice to point you in the right direction. If this helped you out, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'll respond as quickly as possible. Catch you later.